So, and that's my YouTube page, and now we're live. And so, yes, you can find this podcast afterwards, my YouTube page. Once again, Yankees from Israel. So, like I said, I am trying to do whatever I can to try to get as far as I can with baseball broadcasting, and this radio show really is trying to help me out with that. And yeah, I'm just going to be analyzing some baseball. And this week has been the baseball playoffs. A lot of things been happening. We have uh, two of my friends tuning in. Declan Krogman, who will introduce later on, Matthias Altman Terazaki, who's a big baseball fan. He writes for Overtime Heroics and has been a good friend since middle school. And yeah, so let's begin. So this past week, we had the first week of the playoffs. And the first game that we had was the Oakland A's at the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, the Tampa Bay Rays surprised a lot of people this year. I mean, last year they won 90 games, but this year I think they won 96, 97 games. And, they also advanced to the American Division Series and beat the A's, who a lot of people thought were going to beat the Rays. And the Rays have an insane bullpen. They have guys like Diego Castillo. Hope I'm saying his name right, Diego Castillo, and Oliver Drake, who's been with like 12 different organizations. Nick Anderson, this kind of relatively unknown guy for the Miami Marlins, who got traded to the Rays for actually their opener, which is kind of a unique starter that only goes 1 to 2 innings, followed by a long reliever that goes 2 to 3 times through the order, meaning they face the lineup twice through afterwards. They mesh them together to start a game. And Nick Anderson's replaced him, but is also a really good reliever as well, really good late inning reliever. Neil Pagan, who is a steal he got from the Mariners. Colin Poche, Chaz Rowe, Brendan McKay, a two-way player, pitcher, first baseman. And, obviously taking the pitching duties and could be a starter from the next year, but is a reliever in the playoffs. Yanni Chirinos, who had started a few games for the Rays this year, and also spent some time as the long reliever after opener Ryan Stanek. And Yarborough, also one of the few, was very close to having one of the few shutouts that happened this year. It's probably less than 15. And Yarborough had 8 2/3 innings of scoreless ball and need one more out to get it. Was very close to it. And he also is the same situation as Chirinos, which is just following the opener. So, Rays have a great bullpen. And probably, in terms of all the playoff teams, they might even have the best bullpen. Yes, maybe even better than the Yankees. They just have a lot of underrated guys. So, in the American League Wild Card game, it's a one-game playoff. And whoever wins gets to face the best team of the league division series. So, still, even if you win, you're definitely at a disadvantage against the best team in your entire league. The Astros are the best team in baseball, who the Rays are playing now. But anyway, during the A's-Rays game, the Rays had Charlie Morton going for the Rays. Now, Charlie Morton is a former Astro and a former Pirate. Now, what the Pirates like to do, and I know this is going to resonate with a lot of Pittsburgh Pirates fans here, Pirates like to do is they like to transform a lot of pitchers that have gone under the radar, and they do so by teaching them cutters and sinkers, kind of these moving fastballs where a cutter kind of moves hard and in on a righty, and a cutter moves away from a righty. Like these hard fastballs that have movement on it. And this has been engineered by pitching coach Ray Searage. Now, the Pirates might have some change of staff. Manager Clint Hurdle, who's managed them for 9 years, is out of a job. And Searage might be those to follow. So pitching coach Ray Searage has his mastermind behind all this, as mentioned, to teach them sinkers and cutters. But this didn't really work for Morton, as have other guys like Jay Happ, who's on the Yankees, and Garrett Cole, who's on the Astros. So that's why Ray Searage might be out of a job. But anyway, after Morton left the Pirates and joined the Astros on a one-year deal, he had his best season yet, and his fastball went from 91 to 93 to 96 to 100. So big difference. The Astros are also very good are kind of like the new Rays series, the Rays series that works. They have really transferred a lot of pitchers like Justin Verlander, Wade Miley, Garrett Cole, and Charlie Morton. And after Morton's successful year, he signed a 2-year, $30 million deal with the Rays. So despite Morton being a bit injured this year, he had a really great season, one of the top ERA leaders in the American League, if he was able to qualify for it, and he got the American League wild card nod. Now, the A's have a really good offensive team. They have guys like Chris Davis and Matt Chapman and Matt Olson, Ramon Laureano, and Marcus Semien. So a lot of really good hitters. And Morton didn't have his best stuff. His curveball was not working, left a lot of hangers. But Morton grinded through. He succumbed to a lot of pressure from the A's, but only gave up 1 run through 5 innings. So he did a great job. And the A's couldn't take advantage of it, and that's it on their season. They're out. The Rays ended up beating them, and the A's curse continues. So the A's actually, this is the curse of the A's. So everyone knows the A's for Moneyball, the small market strategy where they get under radar players and kind of like the Astros and Pirates, make them better. Look at their qualities that aren't as looked at. And Moneyball started the idea of looking at on-base percentage. So it doesn't matter if your guys have the highest batting average, if they have a get on base at a high clip, odds are more runs will score. This worked out for them. They made the playoffs in, I think, from 2000 to 2002. But they still have a kind of similar strategy to that point. They try to get under-radar players and work with what they can as a small market team. But that being said, they lost to Rays in the 2019 American League Wild Card Series, the Yankees in the 2018 AL Wild Card game, the Royals in the 2015 AL Wild Card game. And when they won Division 2015, they lost to the Tigers in the 2013 American League Division Series. So they have made the playoffs. They're a very good team. They won 97 games this year. But they can't really just put things together and win it all. So despite Moneyball being a pretty good strategy, it's not as good as people think. It gets them far, but not all the way. They can really, really kind of show off their strategy and boast about it once they win a championship, which would be their first since 1989. So back to the Rays. Now, the Rays are, of course, facing the best team in the American League, as mentioned, and that is the Houston Astros. And yesterday's game was pretty hard to watch for the Rays. I mean, they were competitive through the first 5. It was a 0-0 ball game. They had Tyler Glasnow, who they got in a very good trade with the Pirates, as along with Austin Meadows and Shane Baz. All they had to get was Chris Archer, who never really panned out to be the starter they wanted to. And Glasnow, 1 run in 5 innings, and the 1 run he gave up to was Jose Altuve with a monster solo shot. And then Brandon Lau, a couple innings later, dropped a pop-up, and 2 runs scored, and the Astros won 3-0. So the Rays do have some decent offense. I mean, we saw in the wild card game, Yandy Diaz has really good pop. Brandon Lowe has some pop. Tommy Pham has pop. Austin Meadows have pop. I mean, they have some good hitters. G-Man Choi has pop. Travis d'Arnaud has pop, just to name a few guys. But can they really handle the Astros pitching? I mean, they were facing off against Garrett Cole today. And Garrett Cole is probably a tougher matchup than Verlander, because Verlander gives up home runs. Cole does not. And if the Rays have any chance of winning this series, they have to win against Cole tonight, or else they're getting swept. I mean, they're facing another Cy Young Award winner in Zach Greinke tomorrow not tomorrow, but on Monday. So this is a must-win game for them. I mean, if they win tonight, at least they have some confidence going forward. They can fare better against Greinke out of the trio between Verlander, Cole, and Greinke. So Greinke probably did the best off of, even though he'll be tough. And they'll get to face Verlander again, and they can probably at least do a little bit better than him second time around. I mean, they can't do worse. I mean, Verlander hit them and struck out like 10 guys. So the Rays are in a tough position, and if I had to pick a team, I'd say the Astros are going to sweep them, but which is different than my original prediction last week where I said the Rays will upset the Astros. Not looking too good for the Rays right now, but I think if they take a win off Garrett Cole and the Astros tonight, they have a decent shot. So now let's talk about the other wild card game. And I'm just going to just give me one moment before we get into that. Okay. So, the Brewers and Nationals. So, the Brewers had everything going for them in the National League wild card game. And the Brewers are at National Park, and they did really good away. So their idea was that they wanted 3 to 4 innings from Brandon Woodruff. Now, mind you, the Brewers do not have a really good starting rotation. In fact, Woodruff might be their best guy. And actually was their best guy. He threw the most innings at 121.2. And really a good mark nowadays for innings pitched that at least one pitcher in every team should have is probably getting past 180 mark threshold. So he's way below that. Way below that. And Woodruff had barely pitched in any games since like mid-July, only a couple. So, but he came out there and shoved for 4 innings, gave up 1 run, and that was it. So, really good job from Brandon Woodruff. And then the Brewers went to Brent Suter, and then Drew Pomerantz, out of all people. Now, Drew Pomerantz was on the Red Sox World Series team last year and then went to the Giants this year. It was awful. The Brewers picked him up, and he actually did pretty well for them. Well enough to secure a spot on the Brewers playoff roster, at least for the wild card game. And then Pomerantz threw a great inning, so got through 7 innings. And at that time, the Brewers were up 3-1. And their last guys, it was their best reliever, Josh Hader. Now, Hader kind of came onto the scene in 2017, this like freak lefty reliever who kind of like compares to Chris Sale and has this like very like wind up motion, first base side motion where he really tails off to the side of the pitching rubber and then comes back in with 100 miles per hour and a really good slider. So essentially, Chris Sale is a reliever, and Chris Sale is one of the best pitchers in baseball for many years. Not this year, but for many years during the 2010s. So, you know, everything looked good for the Brewers. And then there was like a hit by pitch, and I think a walk or two, and it was bases loaded for sophomore player Juan Soto. Now, Juan Soto was second in Rookie of the Year last year in the National League, only behind Ronald Acuna Jr., who had a really, really good season as well. And he did have a better season than Juan Soto. And Soto's only, you know, he was 19-year-old then, and he's only 20 years old now. And this year he had like 36 home runs and 110 RBIs, played great defense, and, you know, really, really came through during the absence of Bryce Harper, year one after Bryce Harper. So Soto comes up, and it's a left-on-left matchup. So Hader should have the advantage, despite it being 2 outs, despite it being bases loaded. Hader should win this battle. And he's Josh Hader. He strikes out everyone. I mean, I think last year had some insane strikeout rate of like 50%. He was one of like 3 relievers ever to do that over the course of a full season. So really, really good reliever. But Juan Soto cracks one through the right side. It's a 2-run single to tie the game 3-3. But then Trent Grisham, the rookie that came up in, I believe, June or July for the Brewers, and he's formerly known as Trent Clark when with the Giants, he let the ball go under his glove, which led the go-ahead run to score, and that was it for the Brewers. Nationals ended up winning 4-3. So, and Steven Strasburg got the win for them, which was something else too. And we'll talk about the Nationals rotation and Steven Strasburg and the rest of their starters later on. But I mean, that's pretty crazy to think about for Hader. But if you look at the nitty-gritty stats, I mean, Josh Hader is kind of a choker. I mean, this year was his first year as a closer. I mean, last year he was kind of this multi-inning reliever. So he didn't really have all these blown saves on him. But this year, had 37 saves, which is pretty good. But he also had 7 blown saves, which gives him a save percentage of, 84.1%. I usually want to be around the 90% mark. So, you know, not horrendous, but pretty bad. But the most alarming thing about Hader is that his home run rate went from 1 home run per 9 to 1.78 home run per 9, which is a big jump. So this was a guy who had a below average home run rate, which is great for him. And the home run rate across baseball is about 1.35. 1.35 home runs given up per 9 innings, which doesn't seem like a lot, but trust me, it's a lot of home runs. And then it goes to 1.78, which basically now have him a below average home run per 9 rate, and now which is awful for him. So 1.00 is above average home run per 9 rate. 1.78 is below average because 1.35 is the mean across baseball. So, I mean, a lot of times you actually saw him blow some games, and this is no different against the Nationals. And against a very good hitter like Juan Soto, and also struggling against the Nationals. Like it was a bloop hit by pitch, a walk, a single that got through the infield that blew him up. I mean, not an awful way to go, but it wasn't a home run. It wasn't a grand slam or anything like that. But still, I mean, with his wild command at that time, and then he put himself in a bad position. Juan Soto came in clutch, and once again, Hader blew a save. And Nationals are now facing the Dodgers. So you've seen the Nationals play 2 games against the Dodgers so far. And they're 1-1 so far, which is a lot better than some people expected. Some people expected they would be already down 2-0. And the Nationals' strength is their starting rotation. I mean, it's just as good as the Dodgers, if not better. All 3 guys, Matt Scherzer, Patrick Corbin, Steven Strasburg, will be top 10 in the NL Cy Young Award, which is the best pitcher, which is the best pitcher award awarded to the best pitcher in each league. Black came out weird, but okay. Anyway, so the Nationals have done when they've won the 2 games so far they have in the playoffs. They use their starters in the bullpen, and this is not a far out idea because the Red Sox did this last year in their 2018 run with Nathan Eovaldi and Chris Sale and Rick Porcello. The Astros did it with Brad Peacock and Lance McCullers. So it's not a foreign idea. And when Scherzer started in the wild card game, Strasburg relieved and Strasburg got the win. When Strasburg pitched 6 innings yesterday, Scherzer came in and was the only pitcher of the 3. It was like Doolittle, Hudson, and Scherzer by far the best inning. So it's a good idea for the Nationals, but will it take them all the way? I mean, the only other starter they really have besides Scherzer, Corbin, Strasburg is Anibal Sanchez, who is probably also relegated to the pen. But, I mean, really, for all 4 of those guys, and Sanchez is obviously not as the level as Scherzer, Corbin, and Strasburg, they need as much innings as they can at their starts. They want to try to avoid the bullpen as much as possible. Because your bullpen is one of the worst we've seen in a long time for any playoff team, and by far one of the worst bullpens in the majors. So, by far the worst bullpen in the playoffs. So they got to avoid that as much as possible. Their only decent relievers are Daniel Hudson and Sean Doolittle. And Sean Doolittle's had a lot of struggle this year. So, I mean, it's not looking great for the Nationals. I mean, they're gonna be playing at home for the next 2 games, so they have that going for them. And one of those games, Scherzer will probably start, so that's good for them. But can that strategy where they put relievers or starters in bullpen last them against the Dodgers? Probably not. And then pass the Dodgers against whoever they face in the National League Championship Series, if you go one step further to the World Series, it's very tough to see them going far. The Dodgers are the best team in the National League. It's not looking too good for the Nationals, besides the fact they have Scherzer going at least one of their home games. So I would say Dodgers in 5 for them. So now for the next playoff teams. My team, the Yankees. Team that I like, the Yankees. The Yankees are facing off against the Twins, and they just had their first matchup yesterday. The Yankees end up winning 10-4, but here's some key takeaways. So James Paxton, who got the game 1 nod after a really, really strong September showing. Paxton, for a while of the season, gave a lot of home runs in the first inning, 12 home runs, which is the most in all of baseball, and one of the highest ERAs. And yesterday was no different, despite him towards the end of the season being better at. He gave up a solo shot to Jorge Polanco in the first, and later during his postseason debut, gave up a home run to Nelson Cruz. So mean, Pat didn't do that bad. He grinded through 4 2/3 innings pitched and gave it 3 earned runs. So, I mean, it's not great, but with the Yankees offense, I mean, they can handle it. The Yankees had DJ LeMahieu, who had 4 RBIs, Gleyber Torres with a go-ahead 2-run double, Encarnacion 2 doubles, Gardner with a solo shot. So they can handle it. They can really handle, not the best pitching. Honestly, if all their guys give them 5 innings of 3-run ball, they can go a long way. And it really does help that they won yesterday's game at home, despite trailing for a decent part of the game. So today, they're facing off against Ryan Dobnak. Now, Ryan Dobnak, I'm not surprised that many of you have probably not heard of him because he's an August call-up. But during that time, he had a 1.59 ERA. And he actually won the clinching game for the Twins, the clinching game for the division. And he threw 6 shutout innings against the Tigers. Now, Dobnak also, fun fact about him, which I saw on ESPN today, is he has a 4.99 Uber driver rating in his Twitter bio. I mean, that's really high for any Uber driver, but especially a guy who, his full-time gig is a professional ball player. So that's pretty hilarious. I mean, in the minor leagues, obviously, you got to make money some other way as well. But still, I mean, that's a very high review and also really funny. He also just got married, too. So, I mean, Ryan Dobnak is on top of the world right now. And he actually draws similar comparisons, at least playoff comparisons, to Ryan Merritt. Now, Merritt has not played the big leagues that long, but when he started out in 2016, he only pitched 4 games in the majors. One of them was started, had a 1.64 ERA during that span, and joined the Indians playoff roster. Now, his only playoff start was against the Blue Jays, and I think it's because of injury that he got called up. He went 4 1/3 innings, gave it 2 hits, no earned runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts. So Merritt is this guy who's kind of remembered in the Indians' 2016 postseason lore. And Dobnak, honestly, in a similar situation. But he's a rookie pitcher going against one of the best offenses in baseball. So that's a tall order to ask of him. I mean, granted, I think the Indians at that time were facing the Blue Jays, who also had an insane offense that year. So maybe Dobnak can become part of the similar war as Ryan Merritt, but we'll have to see tonight. Their game starts at 5 p.m. And by the way, this talk show is only going about till 5:15 because I actually have work afterwards. So, you can tune in to the Yankee game right after this podcast finishes. But anyway, Tanaka is also on the mound for the Yankees. Now, Tanaka is by far the Yankees' most seasoned playoff pitcher, or best seasoned playoff pitcher on their roster. I mean, CC Sabathia up there as well, but he's not on the roster right now. So Tanaka is like 3-1 and 30 innings pitches, 25 strikeouts and a .8 WHIP, like a 1.59 ERA. So he's really good, and also does really well against home and always steps up in big games. So this could be tough for Dobnak to win. If the Yankees win tonight, they should be able to sweep the Twins because then you have Severino, who's probably our best road option against the Twins on Monday. Yankees will face against Jake Odorizzi, who they tagged for 9 runs on July 25th in Minnesota, which is a huge ballpark. So, the Yankees have a really good shot at winning this series, and all started by coming back yesterday and winning Game 1. Really made a big difference, and they were really, really good at home. So, I feel good about the Yankees, and all Yankee fans should, and obviously we'll have to see how it works out. But we have a good chance, especially with this kind of young rookie pitcher pitching Game 2 against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. Never pitched in Yankee Stadium before in his life. He's only made like a handful of starts in the majors. So, yeah, not looking that good for Minnesota right now. Very good for New York. So, at 4:30, which is just in a couple minutes, we will have a good friend of mine come on air, and I'll introduce him when he calls on, and we'll just wait for that. I mean, it's just going to be a minute or two. But yeah, for the time being, let's just put on some music. I'm going to put on the auto music. It'll just last like a minute or so. So here we go to that.
You're listening to WARC Meadville 90.3 FM.
All righty. Oh, we have a call-in, so I guess we can do that really quick. Hi, you're live. Good, how are you? Good. This is who is this? Sorry. Okay, yeah, just making sure. So this is Declan Krogman. Here, let me try to figure out how I can put you on speaker really quick. There we go. All right, cool. So Declan, I'm going to introduce you really quick. So Declan Krogman is a former teammate, and he's a good friend of mine. He's currently the host of a sports podcast on Apple Podcasts and SoundCloud called Cross Corner. He's a senior at Xavier High School in New York City and plays football for the New York City Lions and also plays baseball. He is coached by Greg Polius, who is the head coach of the New York City Thunder, which is a team I played on for 4 years. So please welcome Declan Krogman.
Happy to be here, Adam.
So how are you doing today, Declan?
Not too bad, hanging in there. Covering for a little concussion, but we're getting back.
Yeah, how was that? How did you have that concussion, by the way?
Football practice, man. Hitting helmet to helmet hits. It's all good.
Yeah, no, I can see that. That's pretty tough.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Excited for this baseball game today, though, for sure.
Yeah. So it wasn't even baseball. That's funny. All right, so Declan, what do you think about this Yankees team, and how do you think we're going to do against the Twins during the rest of this series?
All right, so last night we saw a really good showing from the Yankees team. I thought the lineup looked really solid. We had Edwin Encarnacion and DJ LeMahieu with some clutch hits. DJ, in my opinion, is a sure no doubt MVP of this team. He's leading off and playing first base again today. I thought Edwin Encarnacion, I was really impressed with his poise. He's a veteran. He didn't look nervous in the big moment. And I think if our lineup plays the way it's been playing, we're fine. We got Tanaka going tonight. We just need really 5 innings out of him or any starter for the rest of the series. Once we get it to our vaunted bullpen, we could be looking at a nice series victory here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there's a couple of takeaways that I hear from that. LeMahieu, especially yesterday, he's obviously the Yankees MVP, but yesterday he struck out twice, and he also dropped a pop-up, but then he came back out of the 4 RBI game. So, he's very clutch. He's very composed. He's a very good competitor.
Yeah, a lot of moxie from him, from the former Colorado Rocky National League batting champ. Yeah, no doubt. He came in. He did have that drop fly ball earlier. I thought it was good for him that didn't come back to bite them, considering no runs were scored. Double play was turned by Gio Urshela to go over and to him in the same inning next to bat. I thought it showed a lot of resiliency and moxie when he had come back, hit the solo shot, and then he had the bases clearing double down the left field line later in the game. So I thought he rebounded really nicely. I think there's a lot about him and some good things like not a lot of guys playing anywhere. Especially like our kind of, comes to mind. I thought that looked really good, but I did have some zone. He got to that was going to be very, very busy.
Yeah, it's been said multiple times about LeMahieu that he has this quiet confidence, and he's a quiet leader in the clubhouse. And like you said, not a lot of guys can play in New York, much less come from a really difficult night already. 2 strikeouts. He's not a strikeout guy. he really hates striking out and also just dropping a pop-up. And when he's a 3-time Gold Glover, I mean, that's a tough night. And to rebound from that, which is great. And you also mentioned James Paxton. I mean, he wasn't that great for us yesterday. I mean, went 4 2/3 innings with 3 runs allowed. Did have the 8 Ks, but honestly, that's all we need with this Yankees offense. I mean, if all of our starters go about 5 innings, give it 3 runs, we can definitely beat the Twins.
Yeah, and you got Randy Dobnak, who made his debut less than 2 months ago. He was pitching in Class A ball and driving Ubers before the season started. Great story, by the way. That's incredible. Pitched for a D2 college, and now on the Twins starting over Jake Odorizzi today. Which I guess I'd follow up. What do you think of that move in terms of, Rocco Baldelli, the Twins manager, going with the rookie who really doesn't have much MLB experience, but has been good in the short time he's been up in Minnesota. What do you think of him taking Randy Dobnak over Jake Odorizzi tonight?
Honestly, this might be a bit of a controversial point of view, but I think that actually makes sense because the last time the Yankees faced Jake Odorizzi in Minnesota, they showed him for 9 runs. And Odorizzi might not be that great against the Yankees on Monday's game where he's going to tee off against Severino. So that might already be a difficult game. So, and if he gives up 9 runs at, the Twins field, he'd probably aim for a ton of runs at Yankee Stadium. So probably a good move to conserve him at least until the Yankees go to Minnesota. And go ahead.
Okay. Even still, Jake Odorizzi is a fly ball pitcher, especially when he started with the Rays in the Trop. Yankee Stadium, he is going to give up fly balls, and as we know, we saw yesterday, a couple. I don't want to say pop-ups, and I don't want to sound like a Yankees fan complaining about the short porch, because even though we've had more road home runs this season, the short porch has benefited us in the long run. But yeah, even you saw a lot of balls. Wind was carrying out to right center. The ball was flying yesterday. Even though early on the Yankees got their first 3 or 4 runs without the home run, really just showing some good team baseball, driving the runs in. Brett Gardner, just to me, he's just incredible. He's 35, no nerves. He's been here, he's poised, he's ready to go. And him and LeMahieu, I probably trust the most in this lineup. That being said, Aaron Judge in the field yesterday was incredible with those 2 diving catches.
Yeah, I mean, Judge definitely did well. And just going back to Gardner, I mean, he probably had his best offensive season in his entire Yankee career at the age of, his 35 season. Now he's 36. And
he hit his career high 28 home runs this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is insane because, no one thinks of Gardner as a power hitter, especially when he came up.
Right. No, he was a contact guy. He hit like 3 home runs a year.
Yeah, like 3 homers, but like 40+ steals. Now he's kind of like the other way around, like nearly 30 homers, 10 steals. But yeah, I mean, do you like Gardner over Frazier? Because I think the Yankees should re-sign him to next year, maybe even like a 1 or 2 year deal.
Re-sign who? I'm sorry, I couldn't catch that.
Do you think Gardner's a better option than Clint Frazier?
Okay, so I do like Clint Frazier a lot. That being said, you have Gardner hitting 3rd in the postseason, and he's a far better fielder than Clint Frazier, and he just hit 28 home runs. I would re-sign Gardner to a 1 or 2 year deal. In my mind, that just seems like the right thing to do. That being said, I do like Clint Frazier. You can't forget Aaron Hicks, so it's definitely going to be a stacked outfield. But we saw how many guys play the outfield this year, so I would definitely hold on to Clint Frazier. I like Clint Frazier. I think he can be good. Am I so against trading him for a pitcher or for a need? No, not really. I think if we can flip him to get a quality pitcher in the offseason, as we did for Paxton, but maybe even going a step up and trying to get someone close to an ace, I think that would be a good move. I do like Clint a lot. I think he's a good kid. He's got some flaws, hopefully not personality flaws, as he's dodged the media and, not played great in the field. That being said, I wasn't really too happy when he got sent down. I thought he was hitting well, and I thought, in a field like Yankee Stadium, the outfield and left field especially, but even in right field, it is tough, especially when you're not 6'7", 282 like Aaron Judge is. I would re-sign Gardner. I like to keep Frazier. That being said, if we have to flip him, I'm not necessarily against that.
Yeah, I mean, Gardner has to be on the team next year. I mean, if he gets to be moved in that fourth outfield role and then has to, start some games like this year, then that is perfectly fine. But, I think all of us kind of do have that kind of soft spot for Frazier because, we traded such a good pitcher for Frazier, the Andrew Miller deal in 2016. And, Frazier's this guy who always had potential. He did really well this year when he came up, at least hitting wise. And it's interesting because his arm is actually really good. He actually has a very good arm.
He has a great arm.
Yeah. And it's gotten more accurate over the years, too. It's just the routes in the large in the spacious Yankee Stadium, which a lot of people don't realize. It actually is a bit of a spacious ballpark.
Right. And especially left field is, they say left field in Yankee Stadium is one of the harder outfields to play.
Mm-hmm.
And, speaking of Gardner, he's been doing that essentially his whole career. I mean, that being said, in the playoffs, he's a 35-year-old center fielder, which is very unorthodox and not common in the MLB, at least in today's generation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, today's day of baseball. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, it is pretty insane. And, he's also taking up a lot of, center field duties, like you said. I mean, he's a left fielder by trade, but he had to move over to center. And he actually has performed very well in center, too, at least defensively and offensively as well. Especially taking over Aaron Hicks, who's an insane fielder as well. So
yeah, Aaron Hicks is definitely a better fielder than he is hitter. That being said, he's also a good hitter, but I feel like everyone in the Yankees lineup essentially is a good hitter. Kind of reminds me of this '98 team when we had Scott Brocious hitting ninth, playing third base, who was hitting at least 300 at the time. And then you got Gio Urshela, who is boxing out Miguel Andujar for this third base role next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a very good point. I mean, Brocious won the 1998 World Series MVP, and yesterday
he got a home run.
Yeah, you're right, he did. And we saw Urshela yesterday bat ninth, and Urshela's been insane for us too.
Yeah, he's made great plays at third. He's essentially a vacuum. We saw him in the 2017 playoffs. Unfortunately, on the other side, when we beat Cleveland in 5 games, but even in that game too, with the Joe Girardi controversial no challenge call, he made 6 plays at third base in extra innings to essentially save the game, and he was insane that series.
Yeah, I mean, Yankees fans do have do remember him, and now have an even more fonder memory now that he's played for us.
Absolutely.
And I do agree with you that I think he has the edge over Andujar, even though Andujar was third in Rookie of the Year in 2018. Urshela's defense is a lot better than Andujar's, hands down, and now they're almost contributing at the same offensive level.
Yeah, and I can also see Andujar being traded in the offseason because this team has a lot of bats, but starting pitching is not necessarily a strength. That being said, you got Tanaka going through, who's proven he could pitch in the big moment. He's a clutch pitcher in New York, pitching the Bronx. Obviously, that game 3 in 2017 against the Indians, where our backs were against the wall, and you come back from a 2-0 series lead deficit, and he showed he could be a warrior, and he's just done just that throughout his career in New York.
Yeah, I mean, Yankees fans have always liked Tanaka. All Yankee fans kind of have a soft spot for him since we bought him from the Rakuten Golden Eagles for $20 million, and then we signed to a 7-year, $155 million contract. And yes, he's not like 2014 Tanaka or even 2016 Tanaka, but he's still going to be a valuable pitcher, especially when it comes to the playoffs. He almost seems to always step up in big games.
Yeah, he's been good. He's had a problem with the gopher ball. He gives up a lot of homers, but he's done a better job of limiting it this year. And yeah, obviously, I do think Yankee fans have a soft spot for him. That being said, we paid him $155 million, so he's not opting out anytime soon. But no, he's been a valuable pitcher in the postseason, and he's been a good pitcher in the regular season.
Yeah, well, we'll be interested to see what we do after his contract expires, which I think will happen after 2020. But hopefully, I'd like to re-sign him.
Yes, if I'm correct, I want to say we signed him in April of 2014, and he wound up getting, January of 2014, and he wound up getting hurt in July.
Yeah, that sounds about right, because that's when that whole UCL tear happened, and now he's kind of put them to bed, which is insane how he didn't even need surgery, but he's been okay since then.
Yeah, he had a similar injury to Matt Harvey, and at the time, Matt Harvey was top dog, and then he got hurt back in 2013, and he elected to go do surgery. He waited a little bit, but then he wound up doing that, and he did come back strong in 2015. Obviously, he fell off for maybe reasons besides pitching in 2016, 17, and then was cut in 18. And is still kind of bouncing around today. I don't think he is on any team. Last time I checked, he's on the Angels. But yeah, Tanaka bounced back, showed a little bit more resiliency, and has been valuable for the Yankees. I can't say it enough. I'm very confident in him. I honestly probably would have started him last night if I was Aaron Boone, but maybe it is better to have Tanaka up with a. If the Yankees were to lose last night, I think it might be better having Tanaka going game 2. Again, not necessarily backs against the wall, but pressure on now, as opposed to having Paxton, who just made his first playoff start last night, if he were to go today.
Yeah, I mean, the Yankees did have to. I mean, it makes sense that they went with a hot hand as Paxton had an otherworldly September. But, it's nice to have Tanaka's game 2.
Yeah, he won 10 of his. Paxton won 10 of his last 11 starts and had an ERA sub 250 for the month of August and September. So he was the hot hand. We saw some moments of that last night, obviously not in the first inning, but I feel like it's been a common trend as of late to see, these series from the Yankees open up with a home run in the first inning, whether it's against the Yankees or for the Yankees. If you think about it, even the 2017 wild card, 3-0 down, came back. Didi hits his most memorable home run as a Yankee. And then even last year, the Judge hits one in the first inning. So we've seen this quite a lot, even in the Boston series that we lost. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a very true point. Here's my last question for you before I have to log you off. Do you think the Yankees can sweep in 3?
Do I think the Yankees can sweep the Twins in 3? I think it's possible. I think we'll obviously know a lot more about after tonight. Yeah, I do. I think the Yankees, powered by Tanaka and their, vaunted offense and bullpen, can get by the Twins tonight against a rookie pitcher. That being said, the Yankees have not always been good against rookie pitchers, but visiting pitchers and coming into Yankee Stadium have not fared that well either. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I think it's very possible. Jay Odorizzi, kind of a wild card. You don't really know what's going to happen with him. I'm going to go with, yes, it's possible. I think we're going to win a much closer game tonight. Maybe a little bit more low scoring, but I guess low scoring in 2019 would be like 6-3, maybe.
Pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. At least not as high scoring as last night was with 10-4, even though that one got broken up in the later hours of the game, which went on forever, by the way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say it's possible. I think Jake Odorizzi is a bit of a risk. I do think it's good to have him in front of a home crowd. And yeah, I think Miguel Sano and the Twins offense is definitely going to put up a fight. That being said, I definitely think the Yankees will come away in 3, and I think they'll do just that.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I do thank you for your time. Thank you for being on air. I think we had a really good discussion.
Yeah, bringing it back to our baseball days together, man.
Yeah, we both played on the New York City Thunder, so I still find it so cool that you spent time with Green Wolves.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I'm going to get in there now. Baseball.
That's great. That's great to hear.
All right, man.
Yeah, thank you, Declan. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye. Alrighty, so that was Declan Krogman. Once again, he played with me on the New York City Thunder. We're going to have another interview in just a couple moments with my good friend Matthias Altman Karazaki. So I'll message him now just in case. But he should be on very soon. Here, I'll put on some music for the meantime.
One of these mornings, you're gonna rise up singing. Yes, you spread your wings and you take to the sky. But till that morning, there's nothing can hold you. Yes, when you get back, stand goodbye.
Hello, Matthias.
Yeah, what's going on, Adam?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
So, do you mind if I introduce you really quick?
Hey, go ahead.
Yeah. So, this is my good friend Matthias Altman Karazaki. We go way back to Booker T. Washington Middle School, otherwise known as Delta. He's one of the best baseball minds I know. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you work for Overtime Heroics, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and he's a great writer for them. So please check out Matthias Altman Karazaki's articles for them. So how are you doing today, Matthias?
I'm doing well.
Nice. So I remember us, texting before the talk show, and I wanted to talk about the Josh Hader controversy, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna give you guys some background about the Josh Hader controversy and the discussion that Matthias and I had. So Josh Hader, as mentioned, he's a really good reliever for the Brewers, though he choked in the National League wild card game when he was 6 or 7 years ago. Actually 7 to 8 years ago, in 2011 to 2012. He made some really deplorable tweets. He wrote the N-word online. He wrote KKK. He wrote I hate gay people, and personally I have 2 gay mothers. So it was really tough to hear that come out. And he's apologized since then, and his teammates say he's not racist. He went through sensitivity trainings, and I'll just give you guys what me and Matthias talked about. So I said to Matthias, wow, the Brewers choked. He says, because they brought in a racist. I said, who? He said, Hader. And I said, that's what I thought. And so basically my question is, do you think it's hard that Hader goes up a game in a big spot for the Brewers and the Nationals?
I think they definitely could be better. And then I think that he said those things a long time ago when he was high school. Like, heck, he was younger than our age currently, but still, if you say those type of things, especially at this day and age, like, it will hurt you. And that's why I was pretty ecstatic when even as a Mets fan, I was pretty happy when the Nationals took the lead against them. It's once you see that he's done that in the past, you know that there's probably still some remnants of it in his brain. And apparently his wife has said similar things. So I think it's hard to trust him now, I guess, person.
What did his wife say, by the way? I actually did not hear about that.
Well, I don't know what exactly she said, but I know that after those old tweets were revealed, someone else said that, like, his wife had said something along those lines, like, I hate gay people or something.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's obviously awful, and that should be condemned totally. That being said, I mean, it happened when he was a kid, as we both said. I mean, and it was. I would say 7 to 8 years ago is definitely a little bit different than now. I mean, it's still very recent, but as a society and as as fans of Major League Baseball, is this forgivable? I mean, I'm not saying we should give him a pass, but like, can we forgive him and move on?
I mean, I understand that. I was one of the people that was trying to say we should move on, but yeah, I think we should be able to move on from this, but I just don't know if people will be able to do so.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true. I mean, there's a couple other players who came out with kind of racist tweets around the same time. And it's always kind of left like, a dark mark on them since then.
Yeah, I know that it was. I don't know why it was a thing that people were doing. Is that once certain players were messing up, they would go dig out bad tweets from like 7 years ago. I mean, I remember Trey Turner, the same thing happened, and then a few weeks later, Sean Newcomb like lost a no hitter in the 9th inning, and they found his old tweets. Like, on one hand, yes, it's wrong. On the other hand, I think it's a problem. Like, why do people have so much time to go dig up old tweets from 7, 8 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't think obviously we don't know Hader personally, so we can't truly know, but it probably isn't that but very well representative of him now. And he did all the right steps. He apologized. He did things like that. There's not really much else he can do except just keep playing baseball and just not do that again.
Yeah, I think it happened for a long time. We need to move on from it, but I just think it's more than just these old tweets that the league has a problem with. Like, Brewers fans openly embraced Hader after this happened, which I know had some people up in arms because obviously he said some awful things. But it's also the same way. I remember when the Mets signed Jose Reyes after he got suspended for domestic violence. Some fans absolutely loved him. And then there was another half of the fan base that was completely against re-signing him because of the actions.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of this newish problem in baseball, or more public problem in baseball than it has been than it ever has been. And even the Yankees, when they got Aroldis Chapman, he had domestic violence allegations against him. He was out for 30 games, and everyone has seemingly forgotten about that at this point. Yankees, none of the Yankees fans really care that he had domestic violence at this point. They'll sport jerseys from everywhere.
Yeah, honestly, baseball is starting to have a bigger problem than the NFL. Even with this past year, there's been multiple cases of domestic violence, and the league is only giving them sort of a slap on the wrist. I mean, currently Aston Russell is, in my opinion, the biggest offender, and he's not even paying child support for his kid with his estranged wife, and he only got suspended 48 or something. And I think he should not be allowed to play again.
Yeah, I wonder if baseball were to do that. I mean, if people were going to commit really any crime, obviously it's against the law, so they might still commit that regardless because they're just bad guys and all that type of stuff. I mean, it would definitely set a precedent, and a good precedent, if they were to ban them for life, if they were to do that. But it must be on a case-to-case basis. For Chapman, for example, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he never hit or hurt his girlfriend. He got annoyed, went into an open field nearby, and fired 8 shots there.
I heard that it was someone, he thought someone was breaking into his home or something, and he fired a gun, and then it just turned out that the person was his girlfriend.
Oh, okay, so that's different, but it has to be on a case-to-case basis, right? Can we agree on that? Domingo Germán, he slapped his girlfriend, or Addison Russell not paying child support, and that testimony from his wife was really, really horrendous. That was really sad to hear.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think MLB has to be I think this goes for all professional sports leagues. I think they have to be a little tougher on that.
Yeah, no, that's true. And what about PEDs? You think they should be in the same category? Obviously, it's not the same category as saying messed up comments, or racist or homophobic comments, or having or hurting someone in the domestic violence case, but it goes against the fabric of Major League Baseball. It goes against moral thing. It goes against the high standards we have for athletes. Do you think those who have PED should be banned for life too?
It depends on what the extent is with their PEDs, and also if they admit to their wrongdoings. I know A-Rod completely lied initially about his steroids and now he's sort of amended his reputation because he then admitted his usage, and then now he's a commentator and stuff. And I know Andy Pettit had to use PEDs because he was recovering from an injury, but I think it's more of the repeat offenders. As a Mets fan, I remember Henry Mejia getting suspended for the first time, and then I remember the second time we were still like very shocked here, and then the fact that he tested positive for a third time, that should just be like he shouldn't be allowed back in the league. But somehow he was able to apply for reinstatement and is with the Red Sox organization now. I think if you fail a test multiple times, then you should be out of the league.
So maybe not 3 times you're out, maybe like twice and you're out.
Yeah. Well, PEDs, though, the thing is that, like, we were just having a discussion about this in one of my classes, my sports media class, and our teacher was saying that he remembers when steroids were allowed in baseball and the McGuire and Sosa home run chase and Barry Bonds hitting 73 homers. And that was like when baseball was at high popularity. And even my brother, one of my brothers, he was a huge baseball fan back then. And then after steroids were outlawed, he sort of lost interest in the game. So it sort of becomes a thing with the PEDs is that did they make the game more popular because people liked home runs?
Yeah, no, definitely is a question. I mean, baseball certainly took a blind eye to that during the 90s and the early 2000s when everyone was juicing. And it's happening, I would say probably at a lower rate now, but it's also been interesting because it's no longer human growth hormone. It's like these weird drugs. And often claiming that say, hey, we didn't know this is on there. So, and especially like, I remember just like Cano in the Dominican Republic, or actually I think it was Dee Gordon when he went to the DR one time. And he got these over-the-counter meds, and it had stensinol in it. I mean, do you think maybe it's a bit tough for these athletes to tell, like, what has these like PEDs in, or is there always an intention behind it?
Well, I think it's definitely it. Because I remember when Raul Mondesi Jr., I guess he goes by Adalberto Mondesi now, when he tested positive, I think the 2015 to 2016 offseason, he said that he was in the DR and that he just received a cough medicine for a cold and that he didn't know that there were banned substances in it. But I think, and this goes for all athletes, like you have to take the time to review what is in your whatever you're taking. I mean, I know this as an athlete myself, we're always told like there is a list of banned substances and you have to be careful with what you're taking because that if there is something, there can be something, whatever you're taking, that could trigger a positive test for a banned substance, and then you get suspended, can't compete, and it just looks bad for you.
Yeah, so I think that's why we can agree on like the 2 strikes. Like these, like of course, athletes especially have to be responsible about this, but like there should be some like a bit of a grace period. I mean, obviously, we definitely agree on there should be a no tolerance policy for domestic violence at all, and all those things, all those like related things, like maybe even haters' tweets, or like there has to be something that they do, some sort of ban or suspension or some source of action. I do have to finish the show, but I really do appreciate you calling in, Matthias.
And I appreciate you having me on the show. It's always a pleasure.
Yep. All right. Have a good one, dude.
Thank you, too.
Bye. I did have to kind of wrap it up shortly since I do have to go to work very soon, and I also have one more topic I wanted to get at. So the last playoff matchup that we did not talk about was the Cardinals and the Braves. Now, the Braves tied up 1-1 yesterday, the series 1-1. They beat the belly of the beast and Jack Flaherty, who's the ace of the Cardinals, despite just in his second year. The series returns to St. Louis tomorrow night, and it's rookie versus veteran, Mike Soroka versus Adam Wainwright. And Soroka obviously had a much better season. If it was not for Pete Alonso or Fernando Tatis Jr., or even Keston Hira, hope I'm saying his name right, for the Milwaukee Brewers, he would win Rookie of the Year pretty easily. And Soroka's also top 5 in the National League. Now, Wainwright is, as I said, a veteran. He's been in a lot of playoffs with the Cardinals. Had a really good September too. Cardinals are home right now, which is great for them at least. And yeah, they definitely have that type of advantage. And between the two teams, they're kind of similar, but the Braves still are the better team. They have better offense. They have more rounded started pitching. They probably have about the same bullpen, but the Cardinals always seem to find a way. I mean, everyone remembers from 2011 how the Cardinals were down to their last strike, and then David Freese etched his name to the postseason books, and helped the Cardinals win the game by a couple clutch hits, by a walk-off, and I think at the time it was ever a home run or a triple that helped tie the game and force extra innings. So they always find a way. And with Flaherty coming up against the Braves, if they were to force a Game 5, Flaherty could probably be pitching in Game 5. And, I mean, despite him being young, he's not going to make the same mistake twice. So, for that regard, I said the Cardinals can win at 5. So, that's the last topic for today. Thank you guys for tuning on the show. Once again, I'm AJC, otherwise known as Adam Cohen. This is AJC's weekly baseball talk show. You can find me on Yankees from Israel on Instagram. You can find me on Yankees from Israel on YouTube. Find me at Real AJC on Twitter. Find me at ACohen1903 on Snapchat. You can call into the hotline. Go to Meadville WARC hotline. You could probably find us. I will certainly find us. And my email, if you want to send any messages and all that stuff, is adam.cohen71422@gmail.com. Again, adam.cohen71422@gmail.com. Thank you guys, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.